Ford CEO Jim Farley has reported that his company will lose between $5 billion and $5.5 billion this year on electric vehicle sales, and Ford shares are already down 11% so far this year. But why does this happen? Let's figure it out. The source of all Jim's troubles, according to him, is on the opposite side of the globe, and the name of this source is China. If he is to be believed, other Western automakers are under increasing pressure from BYD and other low-cost Chinese electric vehicle makers who are accelerating vehicle exports to Europe, Latin America, and Southeast Asia. BYD is already moving closer and closer to the US and is considering building an assembly plant in Mexico that could become a base for supplying electric vehicles to the US, Nikkei reported earlier this week. If you can't compete fairly with the Chinese around the world, then 20% to 30% of your revenue is at risk over the next few years, Farley said, and suggested creating a dedicated skunkwork team as a solution to the problem, separate from the company's core engineering operations, to develop a small, low-cost electric vehicle that could compete with BYD's Seagull model. Quite a late decision for March 2024, since, for example, Tesla has been talking about similar plans since the fall of the previous year. According to analysts from the Detroit Automobile Association, electric cars will soon account for 40 to 50% of all cars sold in the United States, and this will mainly happen because manufacturers are concentrating on creating truly mass-market and affordable cars, and China opened its eyes to this. Strangely, they realized this so long ago, because the automotive industry has long known that the most popular car segment is the Golf class. Toyota Corolla and Volkswagen Golf, sorry for the tautology, have always been and remain the best-selling cars in the USA. After all, no matter how you think, most people are not car enthusiasts, and they buy a car to move from point A to point B and are not ready to pay a large amount of money for such a simple task on a Tesla Model Y, Cybertruck, or completely Ford F-150. By the way, why do you think the F-150 Lightning became so popular, even though tens of billions of dollars were not poured into it for advertising like some of its competitors? The reason is very simple, I hope for everyone. This is the price. Despite some fluctuations, now its basic version costs only $40,000, the price of the simplest Tesla Model 3. So now Jim has finally realized that the intersection of price expectations and requirements from a car is in the range of $20,000 to $25,000, where the Chinese are already waiting in full force. What kind of car will it be? Jim Farley provided a few details. It's a flexible platform that can be used by several different types of vehicles. TechCrunch published a report claiming the AMP founder Anil Pariani and the former Tesla engineer Alan Clark are leading the new project, which is based in Irvine, California, and includes a team that includes some engineers from AMP or Automotive Power. This new platform will also serve as a large installation base for software and services, meaning Ford expects to leverage lower vehicle costs with additional revenue from subscription services such as Blue Cruise freeway driving assistance hands-on, which is already proving its popularity and profitability. A controversial decision, given that BMW has already abandoned such features as a heated steering wheel and seats by subscription, admitting that the subscription system in cars is a mistake. The size is also known now. It will be a small but roomy hatchback, like the previously mentioned Chevrolet Bolt or Ford Focus. You can speculate for a long time about the range and the rest, but one thing is obvious. The car will not be revolutionary or interesting. Why do I think this? Let me explain. When an automaker prepares something truly revolutionary, it does not happen out of desperation. It happens during strange, sometimes rash decisions. You can have different attitudes towards the Tesla Cybertruck. Many people don't like him. I, to be honest, think that this is a bad option for purchasing. Yes, it looks cool, but there is nothing behind the marketing. And this is where the essence lies. Marketing. Tesla has been preparing the world for the Cybertruck for 3 years, and tens of billions have been spent on its promotion. And it didn't appear because of the fashion for electric pickups. It appeared because of the crazy decision to make a car out of stainless steel. As for the Ford car for $25,000, it is made out of desperation. Jim himself states that this car is being made to close the $5 billion hole that is expected this year. Inflation Reduction Law, introduced by US President Joe Biden last year, introduced a tax credit of $7,500 for the purchase of an electric car. Starting this year, batteries in eligible vehicles must not use components sourced from a foreign entity of concern, which includes China and Russia. The Ford Mustang Mach-E has been disqualified from the competition due to its use of a lithium iron phosphate or LFP battery from Chinese company CATL, but it would start at $35,495 in the US if it were eligible. Cheap, but not enough. So in a year, we will see a Ford car that is even cheaper than this. News of Ford's secret project comes as Ford is scaling back some of its investment plans in future electric vehicles. At the beginning of the year, Ford cut production of the F-150 Lightning, citing declining demand for the vehicle. Last October, the US automaker also delayed a planned $12 billion investment in electric vehicles. Consumers have shown that they are not enthusiastic about electric vehicles and prefer more affordable electrified vehicles such as hybrids and plug-in hybrids. However, Ford believes more affordable electric vehicles are the answer and is targeting Tesla and Chinese automakers. Ford believes that its customers aren't buying EVs for the sake of the environment. Instead, their customers are after the likes of the Mustang Mach-E and F-150 Lightning because of the novelty and performance their EVs provide, such as quick acceleration and instant torque. Its sales somehow reflect this, since both Ford EVs are in high demand, unlike the Leaf, which has struggled to remain significant over the years. Speaking to Cars Guide, Darren Palmer, Vice President of Electric Vehicles Program for the Ford Model E division, says that when they develop EVs, it isn't as simple as removing the internal combustion engine, or ICE, and then swapping it for electric motors. Their EVs have to be revolutionarily different from their ICE counterparts, which is why the F-150 Lightning and Mustang Mach-E have been a home run for the brand. We use that all the time in meetings. If it's like today but a bit better, cancel it. We're not going to make that. It's not the winning formula. The winning formula for Ford is picking the segments our customers love and then figuring out how to make them insanely great to do things they've never done before. And this is where Emma Burge, Director of Communications for Ford's electric vehicle programs, steps in. She addressed that Americans aren't just buying EVs out of emissions regulations or even the environmental story behind it. There is not such a drive for sustainability in the US because, quite frankly, a lot of people don't really care. So the way we think we'll succeed is by making an insanely great product, because people aren't doing it because they want to be greener or have a green badge. I would say there is a generation that cares, but for the most part, middle America doesn't really care. This doesn't mean sustainable manufacturing doesn't matter to Ford. It still does. And that's why Ford is proud to highlight the F-150 Lightning's sustainable manufacturing methods. But the reality is, the consumers just don't care about an EV's life cycle. Bragg adds, in America right now, yes, we at Ford care about the end-to-end story. But the consumer doesn't. Yes, we want to provide the opportunity for people to be as green as possible, but ultimately, the way you're going to get them in is by giving them something they've never had before. Ford's standoff against Chinese rivals is a concern, especially considering how much automakers are losing a lot of money on electric vehicles. Is this a long-term investment, or is the question of a state nature? BYD has not yet officially entered the US market, but it will happen soon, and then we will all be buried in a heap of Chevrolet Bolt copies. Are you ready for this?